You mentioned something earlier. You said there was some Bulgarian politics at play that made you have to compete. Was it in Dagestan? Is that where you were?
Yeah.
What was the story behind that? Why did you have to do that before the Olympics?
You know, in the past 5 years, I've thought a lot about this, right? And try to make peace with it and try to see everyone's point of view. But at the time, I was very, very disappointed at what happened. And here's what happened. I remember in 2016 in January, I believe, the whole national team received an email saying what the requirements and qualifications are going to be if we even want to have a chance at competing in the Olympics. And so I remember it saying that, you know, they went through the whole list of things, and I remember it saying that ultimately, the person that qualifies the weight class for the Olympics is the person that is going to represent Bulgaria in the Olympics. And so, you know, I had a teammate that was very, very tough, and actually I lost to him later on. I'll explain the story, but he's beaten me, and that's why the whole conflict happened, I think, in my opinion, and I could have prevented it, right, if I won the match. But here's also what happened. So two things. One, Bulgaria does team selection. It's not really like they don't really have like trials. They don't have like Olympic trials, right? They do team selection. And so a big factor is how those athletes perform on an international level. Okay, like international, not just domestically, because a lot of people wrestle well domestically. They go overseas and they can't win a match. So, you know, at the end of the day, they need someone that can perform internationally in the Olympics. So here's what happened. They said that, okay, everyone comes back to Bulgaria in January and wrestles at the national tournament. Well, I didn't really put too much thought into it, to be honest with you. And I had an awful planning, because literally the week before the national tournament, like the week before I had to leave for the national tournament, my wife and I went to a belated honeymoon trip. Okay, so you can say my training was not the best. You know, I kind of didn't really focus too much on that, which is, again, mistake number one. But we went on honeymoon, we came back, went to the national tournament, and I went back to Bulgaria, and I was not in the best shape of my life, right? And so I ended up dropping that match. I lost to him, I think, I can't remember, it was something like a 1 or 2 point match, 5-3 maybe, something like that. And so that's when I actually clicked, okay, I lost, you know, because the year before that I tech-falled everyone in the national tournament, so I kind of overlooked it, I would say. And so I went back and I dropped the match, and that's when everything got real. You know, I was thinking, okay, this is an Olympic year. I can't really be dropping matches like that. So then we had an international tournament. It's called Dan Kolov. It's a big international tournament. And the criteria was whoever does best between, you know, the international tournament and the national tournament, then that's who was sent to the Olympic qualifying tournaments. And that year there were 3 Olympic qualifying tournaments. The first one was a European qualifier, which is just in Europe, and you have to place top 2 in that one. The second one was the first world Olympic qualifier, and you have to place top 3 in that one. And the third one was the second world Olympic qualifier, which you have to place top 2 in that one, right? To make it to get a bid for the Olympics. So they said whoever does best in those 2 tournaments gets the first chance, goes to the European qualifier, and then they would go to the third qualifier, which is the second world qualifier. Okay? And the person that does worse, which was me at the time, gets only one chance to qualify, which is at the first world qualifier, which is like, you know, it's the toughest tournament. So that's exactly what happened. You know, he did better than me. I lost the match to him, and they said, okay, that guy's going to go to the first and the third qualifier, and they said, George, you go to the second one. And again, in the email, it says whoever qualifies the weight class goes to the Olympics, period. So he has 2 chances, I have 1. Well, he goes to the first European qualifier, and he loses. He goes 0-1. So he didn't qualify. The week after that, it was my turn, you know, and I went it was in Mongolia. The world championships, world qualifier was in Mongolia. So I went there and I had a really, really good tournament, right? The way I approached that tournament was, you know what, this, for all I know, this can be my very last match, my very last tournament of my career, you know, because I wasn't planning on wrestling after the Olympics.